You have tuned into the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Julio. Hey everybody, this is the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Julio. Let's get you caught up on football. Alright, so it comes down like this. NFL draft was this weekend, Thursday onwards. Quick news and notes. Basically, Jaden Reed signing a 3-year, $50 million extension as he needed a new deal entering the final year of his rookie contract. Green Bay needed to shore and lock up this young lad as he is the developing, emerging, hopefully number 2 or better receiver for the Green Bay Packers as they trade away Dontavius Wicks and also lose Romeo Doubs in free agency. So, good news for Jordan Love and trying to keep that team together. Ravens also pick up wide receiver Zay Flowers on his 5th-year option as the receiver needs to learn to keep his remarks in the fact that head coach John Harbaugh, and I only bring this up because honestly it kind of rubbed me a little the wrong way, and it was basically stabbing the head coach he had for the last 3 years, in my opinion, in the back because he couldn't handle the big boy fucking practices. Okay, he basically complained on, I got injured so much because we practiced so hard. You put in the work, it shows. You put in the work, you were showing you were a better receiver each and every game, being more reliable to catch passes and get more playing time. I don't like it. So, you know what? Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, Zay Flowers, go become a bust. And I hope Rashad Bateman fucking takes number 1 receiver for Lamar Jackson. Let's be honest. Maybe Flowers isn't the answer. He's going into year 4, whatever the hell it is. Either way, he's entering his development, take that next step years. Okay, this is where he's either going to be a star in the NFL or he's going to become a bust. So stay tuned to see what happens with him. We also have some information on edge rusher James Pierce Jr., defensive edge rusher for the Atlanta Falcons, who was previously arrested for domestic abuse against his former girlfriend, current NBA star, Rikia Jackson. And in these disputes, he has basically come to an agreement to enter pre-trial intervention program. And what this allows him to do is if after 6 months he has proven he has passed the program, he meets all the criteria and hasn't had any incidences, so forth, obviously, they're going to remove all the charges. And honestly, this is your ticket out of free. And what I mean by that is he gets to restart on what is a very promising looking career. 10.5 sacks last year, 1st round pick. They traded up to get this kid with with LA Rams actually. They traded up with the LA Rams to go and draft this kid last year, and he goes and have some offseason issue shit. This was a concern when drafting him. But gets a chance to reset. And if he puts his mind and everything else into this and gets all the negative shit away from him, this kid has a chance to be something special. He had 48 plus pass pressures, basically, right? Just as good as a fucking sack. You're pressuring the quarterback. Okay? He can get after this guy. He can get after any of these guys. So this is good news, Atlanta fans. And for Kevin Stefanski and the rest of that organization. All right. Let's jump into it. We got the draft. And we got stories related to the draft. So let's break it down in our little draft segment that we will wrap up and call it a night after that. All right. Raiders. Number 1 pick. pick up quarterback Fernando Mendoza was the top-rated pick coming out into the draft. He was the expected incubant number 1 to go to the quarterback needy team, whoever got the number 1 pick, and as expected, he went to the Raiders, joining Las Vegas in their attempt to try and rebuild whatever the hell Raider Nation once was, I guess. Good luck, kid. That's all I can say. Reports of Jeremiah Love going to the Cardinals happened at number 3, where they did exactly as we predicted. We had seen information about this. They really liked Jeremiah Love. Honestly, I don't blame them. They wanted to just be done with the questions at running back. So as long as this kid stays healthy, they're going to be putting the ball in his hand probably like a Devon Chain. All right, he's the highest drafted running back since Saquon Barkley. Let that sink in. And let it sink in that if they think this highly of this kid, you know he's going to be a 3-down back. He's going to be you don't draft a guy at number 3 as a running back and don't plan to use him as a full-time starter. Simple as that. That's my opinion. But that's what I feel. The Chiefs, in a surprise move, trade up to the number 6 position to select the number 1 rated corner coming out of the draft in Mansour Delane. The cornerback basically said, you know what? You aren't going to be disappointed. The Chiefs were needing a starting corner after losing both of their corners. One signed in free agency to the Rams. The other got traded, McDuffie, to the Rams. So they have both corners in LA now, and they needed someone right now. And this kid, he can start day 1, no problem. Or at least, according to the experts. Moving along in other news, I like this story actually. Makai Lemon. Okay, the kid. This was the 20th pick in the draft. And Makai Lemon was on the phone with the 21st holder of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I don't know what the interactions were, why, what the Eagles had to offer up in the fact of trading with their division rival to make this jump. They moved ahead of the Pittsburgh into the 20th slot to select Makai Lemon, wide receiver, one of the top wide receivers coming out in this year's draft, probably to replace the post-June 1st life afterwards of A.J. Brown being gone, because we all know he's going to the Patriots. So they go up and steal Pittsburgh's top pick in Pittsburgh at the draft with this trade. So, you know what? I like it. I like going and getting and being aggressive on who's going to be your next guy side by side with your now current top paid guy in Devontae Smith, a wide receiver, right? He just jumps to number 1. And whatever, succession plans happen. You don't keep the band together forever. I hate to say it, but you just don't. So, good move on the Eagles. The Eagles also went and addressed, after losing Jalen Phillips, who they traded for at the trade deadline last year in free agency to Carolina. They made a draft day trade. I've been practicing that a little. For the Minnesota Vikings, who have been cap crunched, apparently, their star pass rusher in Jonathan Grenard, and gave him a 4-year, $100 million extension. And they trade a 3rd and a 7th round pick for him. So the Eagles are cooking to do some things this next year, I think. Whatever the approach was last year, they're done with the shit. They'll still probably use the tush push in certain regards, but I think they're gearing up to be a fucking juggernaut in the passing game. Look for Jalen Hurts to maybe have a big year this year. And in the most surprise story of the draft, is quarterback Ty Simpson. at number 13 for the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be our final story of the night, of the day, of the podcast. That is quite simply, for Ty Simpson, this speaks volumes because this is a team that is expected to compete for a Super Bowl next year, that has the reigning MVP quarterback in Matthew Stafford, and just drafted his replacement. Now, reports that I have come across everything, honestly, this was all expected to happen all along. Everyone's surprised by it, but honestly, after seeing the reactions of everyone in this last week, after the draft over the weekend, and getting this information that I found, this is not a surprise. And honestly, it just makes perfect goddamn sense. This organization and this quarterback have been having secret meetings, more or less, since before the draft. They kept it really private. They just said, go about your day, act normal, whatever. But when it came down to time, you had a head coach, a GM interlocked on this decision, a quarterback secrecy in keeping this kid a secret, in that you were going to take him with number 13. And if you fell in love with a guy like this, and you decide to take the 13th pick, you've also made it very clear in the current situation, which is you have to address the media, and that was he is going to compete with Stetson, their other backup, because Garoppolo's going to retire, for the backup spot. This is Matthew Stafford's team, as it should be. Reigning MVP. He is an aging quarterback, though. All right? So they're just trying to build for the future. This is like Aaron Rodgers going to the Packers when they still had Favre. Okay? Or any other properly developed, Patty Mahomes most recently. He had a year behind Alex Smith, who they went to the playoffs as an 11-5 team against a division-winning Indianapolis Colts. They lost in that playoff game with Alex Smith, but that set up Patrick Mahomes inherited a goddamn playoff caliber team. They were making the playoffs with Alex Smith way before he even came along. Okay? But you're going to sit this Ty Simpson kid behind a future Hall of Famer in Matthew Stafford, especially if he wins another ring this upcoming year. Either way, he is a Hall of Famer. I feel he is. His story speaks it. You could have a movie about it. But anyway, long story short, the future is bright in LA. They've revamped and souped up the defense to be pressing and going forth. And even if, let's say, this is Matthew Stafford's last year, let's say they win the Super Bowl, let's just say, okay? You have a quarterback that you believe in. These two were giddy with each other in the film room, from what reports say, McVay and Ty Simpson. So if these two are already hitting it off like that, if that chemistry is already that hot, man, if I'm a Rams fan, the future is looking bright. And if I'm in that division, be looking out for some competition. But you know what? That's then. That's for the future. This is now. And Matthew Stafford's coming for another ring next year. But maybe the Bears stop him. We'll see. But that's going to do it for us here today at the BearDown Corner. I am Sergeant Holyo. You can catch us live every Tuesday at 8 o'clock General Eastern Standard, 6 o'clock General Mountain. Anywhere you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Take care, be safe, and we'll catch you here next week here on the BearDown Corner.